You think you are a good person. You believe that if you play by the rules, act with honor, and treat others with respect, the world will reward you in kind. You have been conditioned to accept a narrative built by those who are already in power, a narrative designed specifically to keep you predictable, soft, and easy to control. Honor and fairness are illusions, pleasant fictions sold to the masses so they do not rise up and take what they want. If you look at the men who actually shape the world, you will find a very different truth. You will find cold calculation. You will find an absolute refusal to be a victim of circumstance. You are about to strip away the moral conditioning that has kept you paralyzed and look directly into the mechanics of human dominance. I will not soften these realities for you, because your survival in a ruthless world depends on your ability to see people not as they pretend to be, but as they actually are. There is a reason the name Machiavelli strikes fear into the hearts of the weak. His observations on human nature are unforgiving, brutal, and entirely accurate. Most walk through life asleep, clinging to an idealistic version of society that simply does not exist. You are taught from childhood to compromise, to yield, and to wait for justice to be handed out by a higher authority. But justice is merely the will of the stronger party. The natural state of mankind is conflict. To deny this is to surrender your power before the game even begins. The rules you are about to hear are not theories. They are the underlying architecture of human interaction. They govern your workplace, your relationships, and your status in society. You can choose to ignore them, retreating back into the safety of your conditioning, or you can arm yourself. You can learn the language of power. The first law you must internalize destroys the greatest vulnerability of the modern mind. The foundation of all control begins with understanding what actually motivates the human animal. You have been told it is better to be loved than feared. This is a fatal miscalculation. Love is a fickle emotion, governed entirely by the shifting desires and conveniences of the person feeling it. When you rely on the love or affection of others, you place your power directly in their hands. They can withdraw it at any moment, for reasons you cannot control. Fear, however, is a biological constant. It is rooted deep in the reptilian brain, tied directly to the instinct for self-preservation. When you establish boundaries that carry severe, immediate consequences, people do not cross them. They may not invite you to their parties, but they will never attempt to humiliate or exploit you. You do not need to act like a tyrant. You do not need to raise your voice or issue constant threats. You simply need to ensure that everyone around you knows, without a shadow of a doubt, that betraying you carries a cost they cannot afford to pay. Love is a choice they make based on their mood. Fear is a reaction you control based on your actions. Those who seek only to be loved will eventually be discarded. Those who command respect through the implicit threat of consequence will remain untouched. Comment: I choose respect over affection. Once you understand the mechanics of fear and respect, you must master the art of the mask. People are terrified of those who are entirely transparent, because raw truth is ugly. Yet, they are equally suspicious of those who are entirely closed off. You must offer them a surface to look at, a carefully constructed persona that reflects exactly what they wish to see. Machiavelli observed that a leader must appear merciful, faithful, humane, sincere, and religious. Notice the word appear. If you actually embody these traits at all times, without deviation, you will be destroyed by those who do not. The world is full of predators disguised as saints. If you refuse to wear a mask, you will be their prey. You must learn to speak the language of virtue, while keeping your true intentions entirely concealed in the dark. When you smile at a rival, make it genuine. When you offer a hand in peace, do it with the warmth of a lifelong friend. You are not lying. You are simply refusing to hand them the weapon of knowing your true mind. The appearance of goodness is the ultimate shield, allowing you to move through the world entirely undetected. It allows you to gather intelligence while others expose their weaknesses. Never let anyone see the machinery operating behind your eyes. Give them the saint they desire, while retaining the ruthlessness you require. There will come a time when action is unavoidable. When a conflict is forced upon you, you must understand the mathematics of cruelty. Most people fail in their confrontations because they strike half-heartedly. They lash out emotionally. They cause just enough pain to create an enemy, but not nearly enough to neutralize them. If you must inflict an injury, it must be so severe that you do not need to fear their revenge. A wounded enemy will spend the rest of their life plotting your downfall. They will watch you, wait for you to stumble, and strike when you are weak. A destroyed enemy cannot. This does not mean physical violence. It means the total dismantling of their leverage, their reputation, or their ability to interfere with your life. If you must remove someone from your circle, do it absolutely. Cut every tie, burn every bridge, and leave absolutely no room for a treacherous return. Do not leave a path for reconciliation once the sword has been drawn. Half measures are the luxury of those who do not understand the stakes of survival. When you strike to finalize the equation. You strike to ensure they can never rise against you again. Comment: I do not leave enemies behind. In the theater of human conflict, you will constantly be pressured to take a side. People will demand your allegiance, asking you to throw your weight behind their petty grievances and turf wars. Neutrality feels safe. It feels like the moral high ground, a way to keep your hands clean. It is, in reality, the fastest way to earn the contempt of everyone involved. When you declare a side, you gain an ally and you gain an enemy. When you remain neutral, you gain no allies, and both sides view you as a coward who will only swoop in to claim the spoils when the dust settles. The victor will despise you for not helping, and the loser will blame you for their defeat. If you are forced into a situation where lines are drawn, make a choice. Even if it is the losing side, a decisive stance commands respect. But remember the mask. You commit to a side outwardly, while internally calculating every move for your own ultimate benefit. You stand with them only as long as it aligns with your broader strategy. You remain loyal to the alliance only as long as the alliance serves your ascent. Do not mistake temporary alliances for permanence. You must internalize the cold truth that blind loyalty is a myth. People follow their own self-interest, and their loyalty to you extends exactly as far as your usefulness to them. The moment you cease to provide value, the moment you become a liability or an obstacle, they will abandon you without hesitation. This is not something to be angry about. It is merely gravity. Expecting unconditional loyalty from business partners, colleagues, or even supposed friends is a childish fantasy that will leave you devastated when it inevitably shatters. Build your relationships not on blind trust, but on mutual dependence. Ensure that their success is tied directly to your well-being. If they profit when you profit, they will fight for you. If they stand to lose everything if you fall, they will guard your back with their lives. Tie their self-interest to your survival. Make it financially, socially, or strategically ruinous for them to betray you. When you engineer situations where their greed serves your security, you will never need to beg for loyalty again. To maintain this dynamic, you must strictly control the flow of information. The less people know about you, the more power you hold. When you over-explain your actions, your motives, and your plans, you bleed leverage. You become a known quantity. You become predictable, and predictability is the death of power. You must cultivate an aura of calculated unpredictability. Let people guess what you are doing. Let them project their own fears and ambitions onto your silence. When you do act, it should seem sudden, inevitable, and entirely unreadable. Do not announce your moves before you make them. The human mind naturally fears what it cannot understand. By keeping your inner world locked behind a wall of deliberate silence, you force others to operate in the dark, giving you an absolute strategic advantage. They will hesitate. they will second-guess themselves. They will overcompensate, revealing their own hands while yours remains perfectly hidden. Ultimately, all of these laws serve a single, unbreakable objective: the preservation of your absolute autonomy. You must never place yourself in a position where your survival, your finances, or your emotional stability depends on the goodwill of another human being. To depend on others is to be their slave. If your boss controls your entire income stream, you are a slave. If your emotional state is dictated by the validation of a partner, you are a slave. You must systematically eliminate your dependencies, isolate your vulnerabilities, and fortify them. Build a life where you are the sole architect of your reality, possessing multiple avenues of income, multiple networks of influence, and an ironclad mind that requires no external validation. The principles of Machiavelli are not about being evil. They are about refusing to be a victim. They are about recognizing that the world operates on the currency of power and deciding that you will no longer be bankrupt. The rules have been laid out before you. The illusions have been permanently stripped away. What you do with this clarity will dictate whether you spend the rest of your life as the player or the piece on the board. If you are ready to stop playing by the rules of the weak, subscribe to this channel. The game has already begun.